Most clutter inside a home is not actually made of objects. It is made of small decisions that you postponed from day to day. In this video, you will understand why the most peaceful homes are not cleaner than yours. They simply contain fewer unfinished endings. You walk into your home after a long, exhausting day. Your keys land on the table, right next to unopened mail, a half-empty glass from the morning, and a phone charger that has been sitting there for weeks. Nothing looks terrible or completely messy, but nothing feels finished either. You tell yourself that this slight mess is not serious. You can easily deal with it later. But every single time your eyes pass over those same familiar objects, something tightens slightly inside your chest. That heavy feeling is not big enough to force you to stand up and take action right away. It is just enough to prevent you from getting any real rest. Most people make the mistake of thinking that this uncomfortable feeling comes from the clutter itself, but that is not how it works. A pile of laundry that has not been folded is rarely the core problem. An overfilled shelf is not the real reason either. The problem lies in what those objects represent. They are small decisions that never reached an ending. Today, we are going to look at 10 Japanese lifestyle habits through a completely different lens. Do not look at them as standard cleaning techniques. Do not see them as simple organization tricks. See them as smart ways to prevent delayed decisions from accumulating around you. Because once you see this mechanism clearly, the entire idea of keeping a peaceful home begins to take on a brand new meaning. As you watch this video, think about the objects you pass by every day without ever touching. The things that have quietly become wallpaper to your eyes. Because the heavy feeling that follows you through your home often starts right there. You walk through the door. Nothing looks terrible, yet your shoulders never fully relax. Your keys are scattered on the table. A half-empty glass from this morning sits in the exact same spot. And over on the corner of the couch, a jacket has been draped there for days. None of these things are big enough or messy enough to force you to clean them up right away. But every time your eyes brush past them, a quiet voice whispers in the back of your mind, "I should deal with that later." The truth is, your brain doesn't see these as just objects. It sees open loops, unfinished business, and that is why you never truly feel at rest, even when you are inside your own home. This exhaustion doesn't come from your house being messy. It comes from everything around you constantly reminding you of things left undone. Your home, it turns out, may be holding more promises than furniture. So, where does that heavy feeling actually come from? Most people imagine that clutter arrives all at once, but that is not how it happens. Clutter is created in moments that last only a few seconds. It is when you walk through the door and drop your bag on the floor instead of hanging it up. A package that was just delivered is left sitting near the entrance. A jacket is draped over the back of a chair instead of going onto a hanger. And the mail, along with the bills, just sits there on the kitchen counter. Every single time, you tell yourself, "I will put it away when I have a minute." But the real mechanism behind this is that every time you delay a small decision, your brain automatically flags it to be processed later. As a result, these unfinished signals pile up much faster than your ability to clean them up. 3 short seconds. That is often more than enough time for a new cycle of clutter to begin. Clutter, in the end, is simply delayed decision-making made visible. And this problem gets much worse than most of us realize. You may stop noticing the pile, but your brain does not. Over time, you walk past the growing stack of papers every day without even thinking about it. You still open an overfilled drawer and shut it automatically. You constantly avoid looking at that one messy corner of the room. By this point, the clutter has become wallpaper to your eyes. But the mental burden it creates has never gone away. The mechanism at work here is that every unprocessed object becomes an open loop. No matter how hard you try to ignore it, your brain still has to track it silently in the background. And that is why you always feel a sense of mental exhaustion without knowing where it actually comes from. You ask yourself why you feel so incredibly drained. Trying to ignore something is not the exact same thing as stopping your brain from tracking it. The things inside your home do not just take up physical space. They are quietly draining your attention. And this is the exact moment when most people start blaming the wrong things. For years, an obvious explanation seems true. You are lazy. You spend your entire weekend deep cleaning and organizing the whole house. But just 2 days later, everything goes right back to the way it was before. A familiar feeling of failure begins to creep in. At this point, you blame yourself and ask why you cannot seem to keep things organized. But the truth is, the problem has absolutely nothing to do with your effort. The flawed mechanism here is that you are trying to clean up the aftermath. You completely ignore the actual source of the problem. You think you lack discipline, when the reality is that you are simply overwhelmed by too many open loops. You can never outclean a system that keeps producing unfinished decisions. And that realization changes everything about what organization really means. Look around your home in a completely different way. Do not see them as just objects. See them as postponed decisions. The jacket that was never put away in the closet. The half-read book that was never placed back on the shelf. The delivered package that was never opened. And the drinking glass that has still not been taken to the sink. You have seen these exact things over and over every single day for weeks. The real mechanism here is that every single item in your field of vision represents a pending decision. Your home, because of this, has accidentally become a physical record of your own procrastination. Suddenly, it all makes sense. Your home is not crowded because it has too many objects. It is overwhelmed by too many unfinished endings. You do not need to clean more. You just need to finish more. And now, those minimalist habits from Japan begin to look completely different. Those habits may look completely different on the surface, but the mechanism working behind them is exactly the same. From the deep cleaning philosophy of Soji, the delicate order of Taini, the minimalist art space of Tokonoma, to the total trust of Omakase, or the deep gratitude of Kansha. All 10 of these habits are actually doing one single thing. They are closing the loops before they can accumulate into a heavy burden. Perhaps, up until now, this was never actually about cleaning. Every Japanese lifestyle habit is designed to minimize the number of pending decisions in your day. When you do not have a system like that, every delayed decision is guaranteed to come back and overwhelm you later. Different habits, but they all lead to the exact same destination. Order and structure only happen when the number of unresolved things drops to a minimum. Yet, there is still one uncomfortable truth waiting ahead. Finishing sounds easy, but that is not how it is. An object sits there for weeks. You see it every single day. There is absolutely no one and no force stopping you from dealing with it. Every time you walk past, you tell yourself, "I will do it tomorrow." But the real psychological mechanism here is that finishing requires you to expend decision energy, and your brain automatically tends to choose procrastination to avoid that discomfort. As a result, the stress and mental fatigue are simply prolonged indefinitely. Tomorrow, in the end, is often just a storage unit for the discomfort you want to escape. Many of us are accidentally using clutter as a way to delay the feeling of closing a loop. Some clutter survives in your home simply because a part of you keeps protecting it. And this leads us to the final realization. The most peaceful homes all share one single trait. It is not perfection, it is completion. When that happens, every item inside the house returns to its proper place. Surfaces like tables and shelves are given back their clean, empty space. Pathways through the rooms become clear, and there is no longer a single thing constantly popping up to demand your attention. The silence inside your living space will feel completely different now. You tell yourself that you can finally, truly rest here. The mechanism behind this state is that when there are fewer open loops, your brain has to carry less background cognitive load. The price you have to pay is that you must give up the habit of delaying small, everyday decisions. A peaceful home is not an empty home. It is a place where the fewest decisions are waiting for you. Real peace appears when each passing day is closed completely, instead of dragging its burden into the next. And this journey is leading us to the final steps. Perhaps the true goal was never to create a perfectly organized home. The real goal was to stop carrying yesterday into today. Because most clutter is not actually made of objects. It is made of small decisions that were never brought to a close. A shirt left on a chair, a package left by the door, or a drinking glass that stayed one more night on the counter. By themselves, they mean absolutely nothing. But when repeated hundreds of times, they quietly shape how a space feels to live in. People who live in peaceful homes are not usually the most disciplined people. They are often the people who finish small things before they become permanent background noise. A peaceful home is not where everything is perfect. It is where fewer things are waiting for you. Not the biggest one. The one you have completely stopped noticing. Leave it in the comments. I am curious how many of us are living beside the exact same unfinished decision. If you enjoy looking at everyday habits through the lens of psychology rather than standard productivity tricks, you can subscribe and stay for the next video. Tomorrow morning, you will probably see something in your home that you have seen 100 times before. You may just see it completely differently now.